one thing that I learned throughout this entire experience, and I don't think people really got it. I remember when we were still allowing cruise ships and so on. People, some in the Caribbean also thought we were mad. But we were not mad. Is that we knew very well we had to wait till the last moment before we could lock down. Why? Because too many people would have gone without work, without money, without food. Too many families would have been affected. And we would have had a pandemic inside the pandemic.
That's right. It's true.
We would have had a situation where we had 90-something cases. I think we have 105 now. Can't remember the net figures these days. But the point is, we knew we could manage those. Regrettably, unfortunately, 7 Barbadian souls passed in this process. But we were able to manage. If we had a situation where people could not eat, didn't have money to do anything,
Be worse.
we would have had, and we did have a bit of it, but we would have had some serious social problems in this country that would have been worse than the pandemic. So we had to make those judgment calls. Now, it's funny that we were probably the last country in the Caribbean come to lockdown. But you know, all the others were the fastest to reopen. We were the last. Right? Because they got it. They got it late, but they got it. And the funny thing is that they reopened when the situation was far worse than when they locked down. But the point is that there's a balance in that. The country must breathe. You, the people, all of us, we must be able to live. We don't know when this thing is going to end, so you can't play dead. You can't let paralyze you.
Nope.
You got to work with it, live with it, and you got to be smart. And you got to look after yourself and your family and your neighbors and be responsible. That is what is going to be required going forward. So we had to open. We never closed our borders, by the way. We never did. It's just that the airlines stopped flying. And it all started for us, I can tell you, because when we started to get the spike, it was so obvious that most of these people were coming from the United States and by JetBlue. And when this minister got wind that there were 3 JetBlue flights looking to come one day, I had to pull stamps. Get word to them and tell them whoever comes to get into quarantine for 14 days straight from airport. So they didn't want to fly anymore. And that's why they stopped. But it was necessary. Because at the end of the day, they have to look after the country and its people.
That's right.
So that is what we have to do now going forward. As we speak, there's a Air Canada flight in. That is being processed. We had the largest flight yesterday, which was the first flight from the United Kingdom. That was British Airways. Caribbean Airlines, they're flying again also. JetBlue has been restricted to 1 flight per week out of New York. And people need not fear New York as much now because New York is performing better than all the other states. They've leveled off. Things are looking pretty good there now. The flights, American Airlines, they were supposed to start at first, I think it was August. And then we pushed it back to September. And now, it was July, sorry. July, we pushed it to August, September, but already and truly, that is suspended until further notice. Because if things don't clean up, especially with them flying out of Miami, nowhere was there. That is really what it is. We have to protect these borders. So we had to come up with some ways and means as to how best we can manage the risk of allowing commercial flights in. So what we decided, we have categorized countries as risks. Low risk, medium risk, high risk. Hot spots. Right now the United States is the hot spot.
It's true.
And Colombia, Brazil, considered to be hot spots. India, we get people coming in from India as well. So if you come from one of those countries, you have to be quarantined for 7 days. If you present with a valid COVID test, and they got a lot of fake tests in the state, so we know what we're looking for. Valid. We know when it's valid. If it ain't valid, it ain't valid. You can take it here, and if you don't take it here, you're going back. Because we have to be careful in exactly what it is we're doing. You take the test here. Right now, you remain at the airport till whenever the results come back. We've also made some arrangements. The Crane has agreed that they're doing some testing. They have a team out there that will swap. All the tests go to the one lab. But if you're getting it done at the Crane, then you remain in your room until the results are back. And why? Like we had a case this morning coming out of the same UK British Airways. That person was taken from the airport straight to Harrison Point. Go past jail, don't collect me $200, go straight to Harrison Point. And that is the way that we will be able to contain this, because we don't want you mixing up with people and then we have to find you and then look for them. So it is restricted. We also had a second case today, but that was an in-transit passenger going to Grenada. Came in on British Airways. But we made a decision that if you're in transit, you have to come here with a test. And if you don't come with a test, you're going to get the test here. If you miss your flight, that is at you. But we tell you early, come with a test. And the reason why we've done that is, in this case, for example, the person went out, yes, they left on the private jet. The result came back this morning. But because we did that, we know that this person was positive, so we then were able to trace where they went in the airport and who they would have met and so forth. And those persons at the airport would have been well protected in any event. But what I'm saying is that is the kind of detail that we are looking at to try not to expose too many people to this virus through third parties, people coming in. Also, I can say to you that all of the persons so far that have tested positive on our account, they're all Barbadians returning on those commercial flights. And I know some people say, well, you do that, let them stay, let them do this and that. But nah, man, we don't work so. The Barbadians, even if they had COVID and they could get here, we can take them. And we have the facilities that we could bring them back to good, healthy life and living. And they're in a country in the world that can take care of Barbadians who's sick better than we. Yeah. So you're welcome here anytime. And all it is, it means that the numbers will go up, but those are statistics, man. We're dealing with human beings like us, and Bajans like us, our cousins and brothers and uncles and aunts. And that is what matters. So the numbers don't matter right now in that sense. So those are the things that we have going forward. We've been allowing some people to quarantine at home. And it's because the reality is, when these flights really start, we're going to run out of space to quarantine people. And you have to take some chances. We were doing it like this when we started with China. People were quarantining at home. Most people have been responsible. You will always get one or two people who don't act responsibly. But that is how life is, and we have to be able to manage that. I always say to people, look, it does not matter so much about visitors and who come into this country. The real truth is that it is up to us, you know. If we all do what we're supposed to do, in other words, you think that somebody could got a big fat down there with 5,000 people that they shouldn't have, and are you going? No. If you get up in a minivan or a bus or transport board bus and it overlook you ain't getting in. These are the kind of things that we have to do. And I know it was a serious challenge for Barbadians when we went on the lockdown. And regrettably, the first one, we did not quite get that right in terms of the supermarkets and things. That could have been done better, and it was done better. So when we had the large numbers that invaded the supermarkets on that first morning, you know, I panicked. I said, Lord have mercy, what happened here now? But the truth is, I know people were angry and all of that, but we must not be angry. I'll tell you why. I sat down and I studied this thing carefully, and I realized, you know something? Except for people who might have done it, you know, the majority of Barbadians had never had a lockdown or curfew. It's not easy for people to just shut down and stand home and not be able to do this and that. So you had to expect and accept that you're going to have a few little things that you have to deal with. And that was the reality of it. We have never had a period of time when you can't go out. In fact, if the electricity goes for a day, everybody crawling. There are people in other countries that have hurricanes and the electricity goes for months. But we have not had that experience. Our people are not accustomed to that. And so that is why we have to go hand in hand. But I'll tell you what, the vast majority of Barbadians were responsible. So we couldn't really just focus on the few who were doing nonsense. And that is what is going to keep us together going forward and help us to fight this pandemic. Because this fella ain't going away. Don't mind, I can't go calling him. But you know the fella in another country to the north. This ain't going away. I would love for us to have a vaccine tomorrow, next week. But we have to live with this in the same way that we live with the flu. It comes every year, you have it. But we can beat it by not retreating or not surrendering to it. Living with it, changing how we do things. I will tell you the gospel truth. You see this thing called a mask? Well, I hate this. I do. But we don't have a choice. And once people continue to wash, sanitize, don't get involved. If you someplace and you say tourists, and I'm not saying this in any disrespectful way, and you hear people sneezing and things, get away. No, I'm serious. It's up to us. Protect yourself. And once we do these things, man, we're going to overcome this, you know. We will overcome this. But we have now, I passed, I think it was in Greens, cricket match was on. And when I passed that pass, I said, well, Lord, there's a lot of carers over here, a lot of people. And I recognized it was up perhaps the first match since a long time they locked down. And I know that people are concerned that some people not wearing masks, people not doing this, people not doing that. The truth is, yes, I have seen it. But except for the ones who have brought it in recently, I know within my heart we don't have it. I know the time will come, and maybe within the next week, we're not locking down or anything, but we're going to have to start repeating the things so that people will get back to doing the right thing so that you don't drop your guard. But at the end of the day, you have to give the people a little time to breathe.
That's right.
Can't keep locked down and keep it tight all the time, so a little time to breathe. But now is the time that we have to pick it back up. No restrictions in terms of supermarkets and hours, nothing so. At the moment, no. But we need to pick it back up because we're now having people coming from other countries that will be in and intermingling with us. And so we have to be on guard and protect ourselves.